There's a moment in life where everything you thought defined you starts to unravel. The relationship, the role, the identity you worked so hard to get right. And suddenly, you're standing in the in-between. Not who you used to be, but not quite who you're becoming either. It's uncomfortable. It's disorienting. And for many of us, it's where the real transformation begins. In this episode, we explore the messy middle, the quiet power of surrender, and how sometimes the most beautiful version of your life begins when everything falls apart. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Soft Power Project. And today I am sitting down with Jess Prudhomme. She is the host of The Great Detour and someone who didn't just pivot, but walk through the unraveling of identity in real time. And we're going to talk about life pivots and what that can teach us. So, hi, Jess.
Hi, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. I love your show and everything you're about. I feel like we are kindred spirits and speak the same language.
100%. I wanted to open up because your podcast is called The Great Detour, and I absolutely love the name. And I feel like life is just a series of detours at this point. But I wanted to kind of go back and I wanted to ask you, when you were little, so what did little Jess thought her life would look like?
I thought my life would look like the plan that most people, most women have. You grow up, you go to a good school, you get your big girl job, your corporate job, you get married, you have a family, just a very linear picture. It's like these are the markers and the milestones for success, and I was on track for that. I was very big on my checklist and was busy checking off those milestones and thinking that, that's what I was supposed to do and that's how life should look.
hmm Would you say you would define yourself as like a really good girl growing up?
Oh my gosh, yes, I was your quintessential good girl, people pleasing. I learned it at a very young age. I grew up in kind of a chaotic household, and I quickly learned that when I'm quiet and when I'm quote unquote good, when I am attuned to everybody else's needs around me, then things are peaceful. So I kind of learned how to put my own needs, my own voice second, and my focus was always outward, and you don't realize you're doing it. It's just a survival strategy when you're a kid, but then that becomes something that you grow older with, and then it shows up in your relationships, in your friendships, in your career. And it wasn't until like I started struggling in my marriage and like went into therapy much later in life that I realized this was a compensatory behavior from childhood that I was still carrying out in adulthood, and I really had to stop and take a look at myself and kind of take ownership of that and the role that I was playing in my own challenging dynamics in my life.
Wow. You don't have to go into detail if you're not comfortable, but I was just wondering because you mentioned that when you were struggling in your marriage, you started to go to therapy, right? Was it something that you had to kind of push yourself to do? Because when I was really struggling in my marriage, I really had to like quietly ask a friend who I know go to therapy, but I did not want it to let anyone else know because I felt so embarrassed. Was it the same for you?
It was actually very different for me. I wonder if it's a cultural thing too, but I know I was like one of the first in my friend group to go to therapy and talk about it openly, but no, I think I just wanted to feel better so badly that I was just like, somebody help me. And I remember I went through a few therapists before I found the one that I'm with now. And I've been with her since 2020, and I will continue to be with her until the foreseeable future. She's helped me through every up, down, pivot, everything in life. And, therapists, if they're good therapists, they help you solve your own problems. She never tells me what to do. She's just kind of like a mirror and helps me see myself more clearly in my own patterns and the way I'm engaging in the world. But yeah, I just remember just being so beat up inside and exhausted and just desperate for answers, just wanting to feel better, that I don't remember feeling any shame about it. Maybe I didn't talk about it as openly, but I feel like mental health and therapy has been destigmatized a lot in recent years. So I think I caught it at the right time and it became like socially acceptable to talk about more openly.
Right. I think for me, I got really interested in coaching when I was really struggling. And I think it's for obvious reason because I needed to be coached. So I took the course, and then decided to become a coach. But I wanted to know that, when you're in the therapy session during that time, when was that point when you go, okay, this gotta change. I have to make a decision.
You know what? Mine, and this is usually, I've noticed this is how it's been with my marriage, my career, a lot of things in my life where I just hit a breaking point and I'm done. But it takes a lot to get there. So that's what it was with my marriage. I mean, it's a huge decision to leave a marriage. It really is. It's not something anybody takes lightly. Nobody goes into a marriage thinking that they're going to get divorced. So usually by the time you get to that point, there's years and years and years of struggle leading up to it. And that's what it was for me. And then I think when you are struggling enough, you just hit that point. And that's what it was for me one day. There was just one day where I'm not sure what it was. It was probably like death by a thousand paper cuts, but I just hit that final point where I realized there is nothing I can do. There is no book I can read, podcast I can listen to, couples therapy session I can attend that is going to make this work. It's just not going to work. And I think I finally just accepted that. And when you accept it, it's just, yeah, I just for the first time just let go. It was almost a moment of surrender. Like, okay, like I'm going to stop fighting. I'm going to stop trying to control this. It is what it is. And I'm just going to step back and let go. And it's hard, but it was almost like there was a moment of relief too, where you could just like, let your shoulders down and be like, okay, I can stop fighting because you're so tired at that point.
Absolutely. I know exactly how that feel. And I'm wondering though, because you mentioned that you were the quintessential good girl, right? You had the checklist. And during that time when you had to surrender and just let go of something that was really big on the list, and it was really big on my list as well, what was going through your head? What did you gonna have to go through to sort of grieve that particular identity or the value that you hold so dear to your heart?
It certainly felt like a failure at first. Like I felt a tremendous amount of shame because it was something that I never thought would happen to me. And that's the thing about divorce. It can happen to anyone. And I just want to like normalize it because when it happens to you, you feel like you did something wrong or you're bad or you're a failure. That's not the case. Life happens. People go in with the best of intentions. People change, they diverge, they go in different directions, and that's just the nature of life sometimes. But when it first happened to me, yeah, I had that fairy tale romance kind of. I was with my ex from the time I was 17 to 35. So I was with him for 17 years. So half of my life up until that point. High school sweethearts, it was just that cute story and like the happily ever after story. I never ever thought that we would be the ones to get divorced. And also I came from a long line of divorces. My mom was divorced twice, and that was her own shame that she passed along to me. So I was always so adamant I will never get divorced. I was so against it. I was never going to make the same mistakes she did. And now I see like I have so much more empathy and compassion for anyone who's gone through divorce because I realize it's so complicated and it's so nuanced and you can put all the effort in that you want. Sometimes when a relationship has expired or it's met its like expiration date, there's nothing you can do to change that. And that's what happened with ours. Like when you're 17 and when you're 35, you're very different people. And sometimes you just like you can't make it work anymore. But I remember, yeah, in the beginning when it first happened, just having a lot of grief around it. And I think it's different for women too. Like he didn't have to change his name. I had to go back to work and change my name, and then it's just like this talk about identity. It's like a true identity shift for a woman, and I remember too, it was around COVID time, so I was still working from home at that point, and then we got called to go back into the office, and one of my teammates was in before me, and he messaged me, and he's like, "Hey, FYI, like, "You still have your wedding picture on your desk. Do you want me to do something with it?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, yes. Can you just remove it, like, put it somewhere?" And he did, which was so kind of him, but it's like all those little things that you don't think about, and it's like, "Oh my gosh, I gotta go back to work and I have to introduce myself as a new person. My last name has changed, and you have to, like, take down things on your desk," and it's just this deconstruction. And for a while, for me at least, I felt very untethered and like, who the heck am I? And just like dismantled. But I think when you are broken like that, it's just a beautiful opportunity to rebuild and to step into the most authentic version of yourself and find who that person is. And that was very much the case for me because I was with my ex from such a young age. I really didn't have the opportunity to develop my own identity. We were quite enmeshed. We were a we. I did not know who I was as Jess alone. And so my divorce was actually this beautiful launching pad for my journey of self-reclamation and really discovering who I am without him, without any partner by my side. And I'm actually incredibly grateful for it because I don't think I would be where I am today. I know I wouldn't be where I am today had I not had that rupture and had the opportunity to really come home to who I am.
Right. And yeah, I cannot even imagine because you were with him when you were 17, you literally grew up with him, right?
Yeah.
And you must have had a lot of common friends, mutual friends. It's not just him, it's the entire ecosystem around him, right? It must be it must be very difficult to kind of had to pivot from that.
Yeah, it was soul crushing, I will say. Like your whole world, and especially for somebody like me, I look back on that version of me and I try to have a lot of compassion for her, but sometimes I'm so frustrated with myself because I was that girl, that woman that just revolved her whole life around her relationship. Like I didn't really know who I was without it. So when that went away, it really rocked me to my core. And now I've grown and changed and evolved so much. I will never enter a relationship with that type of mentality again. I will always be completely whole on my own. And I'll choose a partner out of love, but not out of need. Like, I need you to survive. It'll be like, oh, you add to my life and I love you. And, you challenge me in the best ways and make me better, but it's not coming from a lack mentality. Whereas before, I think I just wanted love and security and safety so bad, especially coming from that type of childhood. So my marriage was more than just, it was like a lifeline to me. So when it went away, it was just like terrifying. But once I really leaned into the grief and leaned into the pain, it really, you see how strong you are. It's actually, like, incredible. When you are put to the test, you really get to see what you're made of, and that was the case for me, and that's why I'm just grateful for it because I don't think I would have discovered who I was without it.
I wanted to just kind of quickly mention that you talked about how, now that you go into a relationship, it's no longer coming from, oh, I really need this person to survive. It's because this person actually add to my life. And I think that's something that a lot of women had to understand and discover through some bad relationships and some failures, unfortunately. And it's so funny because you mentioned before that it is harder for women, to come to understand their own divorce and actually to kind of have their own life. And it's like the unraveling, the dismantling, you have to like rebuild yourself again. But I really cherish that, like you said. I think that's just a beautiful process, as painful as it is, right?
Yeah.
But have you ever thought about more about like why is this so difficult for women as opposed to men to kind of deal with all this?
Yeah, and I don't wanna say that it's not difficult for men. I think it is in different ways, but, like, the outward identity shift, I think it's just so much more apparent when you have to literally change your name. Like, your actual identity. And for me, it was so much harder to get my maiden name back because like I was married for 6.5 years and there's been so much identity theft that the rules were so much more stringent when I went to change my name again. And I was like, wait, this is my name. Why is it so hard to get it back? And it just was just like digging a knife, like twisting the knife in the wound. I was like, okay, this divorce is hard enough. You're gonna make it hard to get my name back now. But I think that men and women, I don't wanna generalize, but I do think that they process things differently, and from what I've heard, and I've seen it to be true in my own life and in the lives of others, is that women tend to grieve really hard up front, whereas men will have more of a delayed reaction, so that's why it might seem like they're fine right now. I know a lot of women and, like, when they're like, coming out of a breakup, they'll grieve it hard, they'll be single for a little while, but they'll heal, and, like, 6 months, 9 months down the road, like, they are good, fully ready to open up their hearts to somebody again, put themselves out there. The men, on the other hand, don't know how to be alone, don't wanna feel their feelings, so what do? They just jump right into the next relationship and, like, carry on the same patterns, don't actually heal, and then 6, 9 months down the road, they're the ones who then they're really feeling the breakup then, whereas the girls are completely over it, so and that might not be the case for everyone, but I think the women tend to be more in touch with their emotions and a little more willing to, like, delve into them. So that might be the case there, but I'm very big on grieving. So every relationship I've had and the ones I've had post-divorce, I always give myself at least, like, a 6 months period after the breakup just to grieve it. I don't date, I don't go looking for anybody. I wanna fully feel it and process it because I don't wanna like, it's a disservice to somebody else and to myself to go off and date when I am still not over somebody or over what happened between us. I don't wanna bring somebody else into that situation and put them through that, so I take the time to really work on myself, learn the lessons I need to learn, be like, "Okay, I'm not gonna do that again, and here's why." And then, when I feel ready, I'm coming from, again, not a place of lack, a place of, "Okay, I learned something, that was an experience. Now I'm truly ready to open myself up to somebody."
Mhm. No, I absolutely agreed, and I think you really, really have to just learn how to be alone after any kind of breakup, let alone divorce, because whatever relationship that you get yourself into right after, it's not gonna be a good one.
It hurts too, like, I
Yeah.
waited I will say, I say all this now with, like, over 5 years out of my divorce, but
Yeah.
when I was
Yeah,
first divorced, I never was alone. I mean, up until my whole adult life, I was with my ex, so I jumped right onto the dating apps, like, just started dating right away. Luckily, like, I feel like the universe, like, protected me, and it was just, like, a lot of, like, crappy guys, but it took me probably like a year and a half before I got into my first relationship. And I will say he was a great guy. I have nothing but fond feelings towards him now. We just weren't like a long-term match and weren't aligned, but oh god, did that breakup hurt. Like I always heard the first one after divorce hurts. Oh my god, I think it just dredged up like grief that was still there that I didn't realize was still there from my marriage. But I remember being so caught off guard by how much what was it? It wasn't even a full year, and it just felt like my divorce all over again, and I was like, "No, is this what every breakup is like?" But I think it was still leftover stuff from my marriage, but also I'm the type of person, like, when I love somebody, I love somebody. I don't go in half-ass, so it was a big deal for me to open up my heart again to somebody, but also like the second guy I've ever opened up my heart to.
Yeah, it's true.
And yeah, that one stung, but I'm grateful for it. Like, I'm grateful for all the experiences I've had, even when they weren't great or they were really painful, because I didn't really have much experience with men. So I needed to learn. And with every relationship, not only did I learn about men and dating, I learned a lot about myself and like what I like, what I don't like, what I'm willing to tolerate, what I'm not willing to tolerate. And it's really helped me get crystal, crystal clear on what I'm looking for in partnership. So I think dating is actually like really, really important. And, my dad used to tell me when I was younger, like, Jess, maybe you should date some more. And I didn't want to hear it because I was like, no, I love him. And I was so offended by it. But now I get it because he was like, my ex husband was all I knew. And that's not to throw any shade at him or anything like that. But like, I should have dated other people to just have something to compare to and see, like, oh, maybe he's a better fit for me. And I didn't do that. I was just so scared to be alone that I just like latched on to the first guy that, I had a connection with, and then yeah, that was that.
Absolutely. I mean, now I even tell my daughter, like, please date more.
Date
I mean, she's
date all the
she's only
guys.
12, but I
Yeah.
wanted to let her know that you
Yeah,
got to date because, like you said, when you're dating, you actually get to know about yourself. And
100%.
without dating, I mean, like we're fine when we're single, right? We can go to bed whenever we want to. We eat whatever we want.
Best. It's the
It's
best.
the best. But when you're with someone, you get to know a lot of the triggers that you have, the trauma, the wound, and everything just get brought up. And that's really when you understand how do I cope with that when this person is here? And how do I not react? And, sorting through all the emotion. But yeah, date is so important.
Definitely date. But it's interesting you talk about, like, the triggers and stuff. So I believe that you can do only so much healing on your own. A lot of other healing has to be done relationally. It really does. And so I've spent the majority of these 5 years I've dated a lot, but I only had, like, 2 relationships. So I've been alone most of it, and I've done a lot of deep soul work, like, a lot. But I know there's, like, only stuff I can work on when I'm in relationships. So I'm just waiting for, like, when I find aligned partnership, I know I'm excited for it, but I also know it's gonna, like, bring stuff up too, and I'm like, "Okay, I know there's still gonna be work to be done there as well." But, that needs to happen as well, so I'm welcoming it. I'm looking forward to it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's such a healthy mindset to go into a relationship. And I think everyone should have that kind of mindset. We're not because if we just kind of romanticize it, we're actually projecting, right? We're creating this story that's not even real. So, and every person on this like planet, I think we bring our own wound and our trauma, right, with our partner. And you can't change anyone. I mean, I think as women, we were taught as young girls that, oh yeah, if we do enough, maybe we can change someone, but really we cannot. So I think it's such a healthy mindset that I think it's beautiful because you have a therapist, you have all these different tools
Yeah.
that, that's going to keep you intact. So I mean, what are the other things aside from therapy that you do on a regular basis that it's really healthy for your mental health and it just keep you in a way that no matter what, you are Jess.
Yeah. I do all the self-help things. I've always gravitated towards it. I think I will eventually end up doing it, like, somewhat career-wise later in life. I feel like that's where I'm being pulled to, but yeah, therapy is a huge one. I do coaching as well. I love coaching, and, like, there is a difference between it. Like, therapists, it's more I see therapy as, like, you're looking at your past and how that is playing out in your present, whereas coaching, I see it looking more future towards the future, so it's forward thinking. But I love coaching too because it helps me get clear on what do I want the rest of my life to look like and how do I get there? What are the steps that I need to take? So that's been very helpful. I also am big on meditation. That's been huge for me, is just regulating my nervous system. I don't think I realized in my younger years how dysregulated I was. And I would use things like control and just always be in my masculine energy. But I think it was just all in an effort to regulate myself. And now I'm in this point in my life where I'm just much more, don't get me wrong, I'm still a little bit of a type A, and I still like things to go a certain way, but I'm much more fluid. There's less rigidity than there used to be. And I think I really credit, like, slowing down, meditation, and, I try to just process my feelings through journaling. I do audio journaling too. So I think that's like when I first got the idea to do podcasting, I was like, oh, I talk a lot to myself. Like, I should probably like do a podcast. But
Yeah, me too. Me
sometimes when
too.
yeah, it's great, right? When I'm too tired to like
Yeah.
write it all out, I
Yes.
will just get it out in a voice memo. And I find it to be really helpful. So that, and then movement's always been very big for me too, is whatever type of fitness it might be. I love strength training and running, but I also do yoga. And I just find that it helps get whatever energy I have buzzing inside
Hmm.
of me out. And again, it
Yeah.
gets you to that regulated state. And I feel like when you're at that state, that's when you can really hear yourself. And that's when your
Mm,
intuition becomes clear and you can really tap into that. When you're busy, busy, busy all the time and in your head all the time, it's hard to hear your own knowing and your own thoughts. So for me, it's been a
hmm.
lot of doing things to get my nervous system into a calm state and just slowing down a little bit. That's been big for me.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, before I ask any more questions, I have to say your life sounds wonderful.
I also don't have kids, so it's a little easy to say that.
Sounds wonderful. Oh, I mean, like, speaking of dysregulated, I feel like I live with a teenager and it's
Yeah,
just hormones
it's a lot.
everywhere.
I can imagine.
So you mentioned that you're a type A. I'm a type A. I think everything you said, I 100% agreed, right? So much masculine just energy because we just wanted to control things. We wanted to make sure we can please everyone. We can make sure that everyone's happy around us and keeping the peace. And it's absolutely draining.
Oh, yeah.
You mentioned that a lot. I know on your podcast and on your Substack as well, you talked about this liminal space, the very, the messy middle. And I find for myself, I'm such a type A. Oh my God, going through the messy middle, it's one of the hardest thing. And I was so uncomfortable for so long. I did not know what to do with myself because literally I have to surrender, which is the complete opposite of control. So I wanted to ask you, how did you deal with that?
I mean, I'm still dealing with it, so but yeah, the
Yeah.
liminal, it's that chapter where you've left your old life, you haven't fully stepped foot into your new life, and you're in this gray in between, and it's extremely uncomfortable, but I think it's so critical in the growth journey, and it's not only a one-time thing, it will likely happen several times as you continue to grow and you continue to evolve, and it can be very isolating, but for anybody who's in it right now, I just wanna normalize it for you that it's something that we all go through. I didn't realize this when I was going through it, and I thought it was just me, and then the more I talked about it, people were like, "Oh, no, me too, I understand." And so it made me feel a lot better, but it's hard. It's almost like the chrysalis. It's like you are just dissolving into this goo and it's so uncomfortable, but I think it's what gets you to like the butterfly stage when you can really spread your wings. But it's a lot of internal growth. And that's what like this past year has been for me. I left my job that I was in for a decade. I quit with nothing lined up. Don't really recommend that, but it's where my intuition was leading me, so it was an exercise in really trusting myself, and I feel very grateful that I was even in a position to do that, but it's been a time of, like, yeah, like, what is my life? And am I okay with myself when I don't have this big job to attach my identity to, this I'm not a wife anymore, so I don't have a partner to attach my identity to. Can I still be okay with who I am? Do I still feel lovable, worthy, valuable? And at moments, I will not lie that I don't. So it was a big exercise in really like stripping myself of all these external entities that I've attached my worth to and my identity to, and just coming home to my essence and sitting with myself and loving myself despite all of these things, and it's been hard. It's been really hard, but I feel like even though on the outside not it looks like not a lot has changed, on the inside, I feel like I've had the biggest up level of my life, and I just feel so much more connected to myself, more confident in who I am and what I bring to the table, and that I don't need to prove it anymore. Like, I spent my whole life proving myself, and now I'm just like, I know who I am. And there is just this knowing that if I keep trusting myself, if I keep listening to my heart and following whenever I get these intuitive nudges that I'll be fine. And that's a big thing for me. That's I think the biggest change for me this year is just having that trust that no matter what, I'm going to be okay because I always figure it out. In the past, I have been a victim to my own catastrophic thinking. And oh my gosh, I would always be 10 steps ahead in the worst case scenario. I'd have like 5 worst case scenarios and I would just spiral. And now I'm just in a place where I'm like, okay, well, if I don't get this next job, I'll find something else. And it's just this new way of thinking that I never had before. And I love it. It's the type of woman, it's the type of person that I want to be, who's just empowered and trusts herself to move forward in life and make the right steps. And if I don't, then I'll just figure it out. So that's been like the biggest change for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's so beautiful what you said because, and isn't it really interesting? It's because you were able to make a life-changing decision like divorce. Then, when it comes to career, you trust yourself enough that you're like, okay, I don't have a plan B, but I'm going to do it anyway because this is what I believe is the right thing to do. And I felt like when I talk to a lot of women, that seems to be the pattern. It's like we never recommend anyone to just quit a job, but when it's not right, it's not right, and you just have to like honor yourself to do the right thing. It must be really difficult. And like, I felt like during that time when I also quit my job last year without a plan B.
Yeah.
Like, again, I would not recommend that to anyone.
It's not easy
But
on the nervous system, I will say
oh,
initially, but then once you lean in, it's like, "Oh, like, I'm okay."
yeah.
Like, you just realize, like, "Oh, I think there's a huge fear that gets in your way with big decisions, but once you make that leap." And that's why I was able to do it after the divorce. I think once you do really hard things, it teaches you that you can continue to do hard things, so you believe in yourself more. So I don't know that I would have made this big career shift had I not gone through my divorce. I think it would have been much scarier, but it actually reminded me a lot of my divorce in many ways. It was this thing I attached my identity to and had been at for so long, and I wasn't happy anymore, and it just didn't fit me anymore, and it was really draining me in a way that was affecting all areas of my life, and I knew that I had to do something about it. I couldn't just stay put, and so it was very similar in a lot of ways. And I will say, as scary as it was, and even when I freaked out after I first did it, there's no part of me that thinks that was a mistake. There's no part of me that looks back and is like, "Oh, maybe I shouldn't have left." The confidence is there, so I always rely on that and trust that. Now, I don't know what the next 5 years look like, but for the first time in my life, I'm okay with that. I'm okay. I'm excited. Like, I don't know what's coming. It's a blank canvas. Anything could happen. So that's actually, I'm excited by that more than I am scared of it, which is a huge shift.
Mm, hmm. I mean, isn't that interesting to be excited for the unknown? Because that was not me before. And I felt like these life lessons really taught us a lot about, if life it is uncertain. Like as much as you wanted to control that before, well, it didn't plan out that way. So life is uncertain, then you're just gonna have to enjoy the process.
Exactly. And the more you just let go and surrender, the more enjoyable it becomes. I realize, like, when I'm constantly fighting it and kicking and screaming the whole way, it's terrible. It's terrible. But when I just kind of accept, like, I don't have control here, and I'm just going to lean into that and see where life takes me and just trust myself. There is this peace, and you just get to enjoy life a lot more. And also, you find out, like, no, we don't have control over everything, but you also find out how powerful you are. I think, like, you forget your own power, like your soft power you talk about in your show. But, like, I do believe that we co create with the universe, and, like, we are so much more powerful than we give ourselves credit for, but we just have to take the time to really, like, tap into ourselves and recognize that and trust ourselves that we'll figure it out and we'll be okay.
Yeah. And I'm really curious because, I'm sure you don't even recognize your old self maybe a year ago, 2 years ago, because you're constantly changing, right? You're constantly growing. Well, did that affect your friendship? Because you knew people when you were 17. That's a different version of Jess. And now it's a completely different, a new Jess. Did your friendship circle change at all?
Oh my god, yes. Absolutely. And I hear this a lot from others too, which is very comforting, but, oh, I've lost so many friends over the past few years, so many. I do have some that have stayed with me, and I really consider them my soul family, the people who are able to evolve with you and accept you in all your versions, in all your iterations. They're beautiful, and I think that, like, we, like, came into this life together and just, like, are meant to go on this journey together. But I don't think everybody's meant to, similar to, like, some marriages and some relationships, like, not all friendships are made to last for the long haul, and that's okay, you know? And I think we need to normalize friendship breakups and just outgrowing certain friendships because so often we just hold on to them for the sake of longevity and stay in things that just aren't working anymore, and it's not healthy. But for me, yeah, I did change a lot, and, one thing that I realized, which was really sad, and it's a pattern I've really worked on breaking, is I was in a lot of one-sided relationships. I think as growing up the way I did, I've always been the person to, like, I was the people pleaser, I was, like, the giver and always extending myself and pouring in energy into others, but not really recognizing whether or not it was coming back in my direction. And that I got myself into a lot of relationships where I was just doing the heavy lifting. And I realized one day, like when I stopped trying so hard, when I stopped reaching out first or making the plans or footing the bill, things got quiet. And it's a really hard realization to swallow, but that was my own doing. That was a pattern I was stuck in, and the way I was showing up was attracting and building those types of relationships. So now my circle is absolutely a lot smaller, but I like it that way. I like just a few friends and just pure authenticity and like mutuality. The energy I'm putting forth is coming back to me, and I think that's the way it's supposed to be for me, but when it was happening and I was losing people, oh god, it really hurt so much. It was just like breakups all over again. I'm sure you had the did you have the same experience?
Oh, yeah. I
Yeah,
feel
yeah.
like last year I had to end so many. I mean, like, not like I'm ending the friendship. It's just like I know it just didn't work anymore.
Yeah.
It's falling apart left and right. And there was so many, like one after another. I felt like such a humbling process.
Was it when you started this podcast? Because I noticed once I started becoming more visible, that shook things up too. I don't know what it is if, like, when you step into your power, it triggers a lot of people, it does.
I think as soon as I put myself on social media, because I wasn't a social media person. I know both of us actually, we do marketing. So we probably do it for companies, but I wasn't someone who's like posting my food or my routine, whatever on social media platform. But as soon as I do that, that shifted so many things. And it was really weird. Like people would kind of look at my story, but never comment, never like, nothing, but they would like watch it. And it was really odd. And I felt like that really changes a lot. I mean, that definitely happened to you, right?
Oh my gosh, and I feel like I got hate eventually too, and I learned from others who put themselves out there and are on social or creators, it's so par for the course, so I was like, "Okay, it's not just me." But I really believe when you are evolving and stepping into authenticity and stepping into your own power, you can do 2 things. One, it can inspire people, and I've seen that in some of my friendships. Like, I saw one of my friends, she's like, "Oh, you know what? I really wanna write a TV show. I've always wanted to do this." So she, like, wrote a pilot. And one of my other friends, like, really wants to start her own business. So like, you can lift other people up just by being you, but then other people who aren't living in their truth and maybe, I don't know, maybe feel insecure about it or just are in a different place, that will trigger them. I think it's like a mirror and it's showing them their own untapped potential. And instead of rising to that potential, they just project their insecurity onto you. And I got a lot of that. And it was not fun either. And I'm just like, man, I've been so supportive for everybody in my life. And it's just like, I remember when I launched my podcast, I was quite surprised by like the people who didn't show up or like didn't engage. And it felt hurtful. But I think that it just shows that you're doing something right if that happens. I think just standing in your power will absolutely trigger people, and it doesn't mean to stop doing it. It means just keep being you, and you will go where you're meant to go, and that just means those people just were not meant to come along with you, unfortunately.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that. Because I think as an adult, we don't really talk about friendships. We think friendship just come naturally and we don't even think about making new friends. And I know like watching your content, I know that you're making new friends online, because of you doing what you do, you're growing and allowed yourself to be seen. I think that's the beauty of it, right? A lot of friendship may have to end, but then you actually get to grow beautiful new friendship.
Exactly, I think it clears space for the right people, and it's not to throw shade at, like, the your other friends. I think, like I said, like, people sometimes are just meant for a season, and they take you to a certain point, and then you grow in a different direction or whatever it may be, but I do believe when you allow things to be that way and you say, "Okay, this is expired," like, let it fade away, whatever it is, it creates space for the new aligned friendships to come in, and yeah, the podcasting, I don't know if it's been the case for you, but for me, it's connected me, like with you, with so many like-minded people who've been through loss, who've been through grief, who like to talk about deep things. Because that's always been my thing. I've always felt like I don't know, I don't fit in because I've always been I'm an HSP, a highly sensitive person. I'm an empath. I love deep conversations. Like I don't do surface level. Like I don't do small talk. I like to get deep, and that it's hard to find people like that all the time, you know? So for me, this has been such a beautiful way to meet people like that, and just, like, having nights like tonight where I'm like, "Oh my gosh, we could have this amazing deep conversation. This is so fulfilling for me." But you can't do that if your life is crowded with tons of people, and that was me right after my divorce. I think it was the same thing where I just didn't know how to be alone, so I had the biggest group of friends and was not discerning about who I had in my circle at all. I just needed to be out doing something all the time because I didn't know how to be with myself yet. And it's really sad to think about because I would rather spend time with literally anybody. It didn't matter as long as it wasn't myself. And so I've weeded a lot of people out, since then. But I just look back on that version of me who just had to constantly be surrounded by people. And I'm just like, girl, you did not have any space for the right people because you were just so busy entertaining anybody. So.
Hmm. Yeah. 100%. And like you said, it's really important to note that, yeah, we're not throwing shades at our old friends or friends that just didn't work out because again, like, they have their own friends and we're just on a different path. And maybe it's at some point in the future, our path will cross again, right? I think that's life. And but I think as an adult, like we can make new friends and actually it's good to make new friends. We just have to be more proactive about it, right? We have to just reach out to people and like, creating this podcast, like you said, we can just sit down, skip the small talk and go straight to trauma.
Right. Exactly.
It's like, oh, you've been through divorce. Me too. What was
Yeah,
that like? Yeah, we,
exactly. I know, I feel like I was made for podcasting. As soon as I
yeah,
started doing it, I was like, "Oh my god, these are my people."
same, same. It's so funny. It's absolutely the best thing I've ever done. The hardest thing, I would say, but the best thing. Talking about this messy middle. And I wanted to emphasize, and like you said, the messy middle is not just a phase that you get over, right? It's, I'm still experiencing that. Maybe I'm learning something new. Maybe I am entering into a new chapter in my life in some aspect, but I feel like I'm still in that space a lot. And maybe it's okay. Maybe that is life in a way.
I think it is. I was so focused on a destination my whole life, and I think we lost the plot there. I don't think there is a destination. I think the journey is the whole point. And it's up, it's down, sometimes it plateaus. But if you're growing, there's always going to be these in-betweens, Like when your daughter goes off to college, or like you're going to have a transitional period, like, like it's just that's the way life is. Whenever I enter my next job or career, like that will be a transition and then maybe something else will happen when I enter partnership. So I think I've stopped wishing for things just to like be perfectly tied up in a bow. I think after I got divorced, I was so naive and I thought, well, I did the hard thing. I chose myself. I did the work, so now the universe should just reward me and, like, where's my new husband and where's my, like, perfect life? And, oh, man, I got slapped in the face. I was just like I had a lot to learn, but I've needed this time, and I look at it now and I'm just like, "Oh, how lucky am I?" I spent 17 years, like, not being on my own, not being able to explore my identity, and in the grand scheme, it's only been about 5 years and with some relationships in there that I've been single, and I feel like that's a gift, you know? Like, I almost missed out on this period of my life to really just be on my own, and, when I first was divorced, I hated living by myself. Now I friggin' love it. I can't imagine living with a man ever again. This is amazing. So it's just I think, like, I do believe I desire partnership, and I do believe it's in the cards for me. So I kind of view it as like this time is limited and I want to savor it because one day I will have a partner again and I'm going to reflect back on this time and be like, oh my gosh, remember my single days and remember how I could do whatever the hell I wanted, whatever I wanted it. And yeah, I'm excited too, just at the prospect of falling in love again. Like I get to fall in love again. And I truly believe that. And not that you need partnership, like, there might be some women out there who are divorced and are like, "I'm good. I don't want," and that's I think I respect that too, like, if that's you, like, you can have a very fulfilled life without a partner, I believe that. But I do desire it, and I just feel it in my bones, so I'm just like, I'm excited, and so I'm just trying to enjoy this chapter, this liminal space for what it is because I know it's just not gonna last forever.
Yes, and your life actually sounds really, really good to me. You get to do journal and yoga and everything.
I know motherhood is very different, right, with going through divorce and single motherhood,
Yeah.
right? It's like a whole other yeah,
Yeah, and also I'm in a process of custody battle, so that has been
a whole
I
other
wanna say
yeah.
hell, but then I'm like, "Ah, I don't know." I mean, you know what? It's part of it. Again, it's life. It's part of
It
it.
is, yeah.
You really cannot control the outcome when, how it's gonna happen. You're just gonna have to write it and just be like, "I surrender. I'm gonna do as much as I can, but everything else, you have to surrender to the
You do.
universe." Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I know that we kinda mentioned that in between our conversation. Do you feel like your ability to tap into your intuition has grew stronger and stronger during this time?
Oh, 100%. I used to be so disconnected from myself. It's wild to think about. I feel like my intuition used to be screaming at me and I would just completely ignore it. And it shows up differently for everybody. For me, it's a lot of times just a knowing. It shows up in my body. Like I always know when things feel off. Now I trust it. They're off. Or when I get like really drained or my anger is also a signal to me as well. In the past, I would just it was the good girl thing, I would dismiss it and be like, "Oh, don't be angry, Jess. Oh, they don't mean that," and I would just write it all off, and now I've learned intuition is very subtle. It will knock, but it's very repetitive, so it'll keep coming around. It will be that recurring thought that keeps popping in your head. It will be that feeling that drains you every time you're around this certain person. So now I just listen and I notice it and I just try to to make moves based off of that. But yeah, now I feel like I have well, A, I have the space to hear it more, but I also have the experience where I trust it more. I have ignored it enough times and gotten burned enough times that now I know I'm like, okay. Cause you ever like do something and then afterwards you're like, "Oh my god, I knew I shouldn't have done that." Like, you just you betrayed yourself in a way and you ignored your intuition, and that's not a terrible thing, we all do it, but use that as data. So next time around, when you get that feeling or that knowing, trust it, and I am someone who has to learn the hard way, it's probably why I have so many detours in my life, but I've been burned pretty bad and I think and the whole time I was like, "Oh my god, why did I do that? I already knew." So now I'm like, "All right, I got it. I'm listening to it." And that was what it was with quitting my job. And sometimes this is what intuition does. It makes no sense. It's just this knowing that this is what I need to do and this is what's right for me. And so that's what I did, and I'm sure I'll get even more clarity years from now, but already I can kind of see why I needed this year, why I needed to slow down. I was so burnt out. I didn't realize I was running on fumes at that point, not just from a career standpoint, but just a life of overachieving and living for other people and being codependent and constantly putting others' needs before mine. Like I was depleted on a soul level, and I really needed this time to just rest and kind of get clear on where I want my life to go. So it's my intuition like knew what it was doing, and I'm so glad that I listened to it, and I've been fine. I'm still here. I'm still in my apartment. Like I'm not out on the street. So I am fine. Your intuition, I really believe, will never ever steer you wrong. So when you get those feelings or no, however it shows up, just take note. And sometimes that's how I practice too. Like when I get nudges, I'll like just write it down and then I'll see the patterns and I'll see how it shows up. And it just teaches you to trust yourself more.
I love it that you mentioned you need space to actually hear your own intuition because I feel like as people pleaser growing up, you fill that space with so many other people's expectation, their desire, what they want, and also like trying to plan ahead, right? 10 steps ahead and always trying to be like, oh my God, if that happens, I'm going to say this, right? And I think I was really just so distracted that I could not hear my body or my intuition just screaming at me. But I think what you said, another thing is that you needed to develop that sense of trust. So that once you trust your intuition and you're fine, and then you know that it's okay. Like I can trust it again because I'm going to be fine and this is the right path. And I think yeah, it's really beautiful because your intuition only grows stronger when you really trust, yeah, yourself.
Yeah, but I think as women, we're kind of socialized not to trust ourselves. I think from the time we're little, we're always like, I don't know. I just remember growing up and always looking to other people, friends, like anybody, like, what do you think? What do you think? And just constantly outsourcing. And now I see people doing it all the time with ChatGPT too, which is so dangerous. Guys, don't rely on ChatGPT as your therapist. Like, it's just, you need to learn how to trust yourselves. But I think, and that's what I've changed a lot is like something might come up and in the past I would have texted a friend right away before I even had a chance to sit with it. Now I just sit with it and I'm like, "How do I feel about this? What do I think?" And then I go from there. And don't get me wrong, sometimes with big decisions, you have a mentor, you have a therapist. Of course, you're going to consult with them, but don't immediately run to outward sources for answers because I truly believe that you have all the answers inside of you. You do know. You just have to listen to yourself and you'll have that gut feeling and it will lead you in a certain direction. So the more that you practice that, it's like a muscle.
Mhm,
It's like working it out at the gym. It just gets stronger and stronger, and then you learn how to trust it more. But it takes
mhm.
practice.
I remember, I think last year, after I left a really toxic working environment, I got offered a job. And after the interview, I immediately knew
You
that it
knew.
was like the same toxic dynamic again. But then I was like, well, the money is good, right? So I was like taking my time to think about it. And as I was sleeping, I literally hear myself screaming at me, like, no, don't
Yeah.
take the job. And I woke up, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to take it because
Yeah.
I was literally shouting to myself.
No, that dreams are big too. I always if I have something
Mm,
big on my heart, I always put it out there before I go to sleep, and a lot of times, like, I'll wake up with answers. It's wild how that happens. But that's great that you listen to yourself because a lot of times, like I mentioned, intuition doesn't make sense. Like, you have this stable, high-paying opportunity in front of you.
yeah,
Why wouldn't you take that? But your intuition's like, "Run the other direction," but it knew, you know?
100%. I mean, I love our conversation. I feel like I could talk to you
I
forever because
know.
there's so many similarities. I'm almost like I'm the Asian Jess.
Love it. I love it.
It's so funny. It's like we grew up in a different place, but we somehow have so many similarities in our life, and we're all learning this. And, we're taking all these great detours again and again. And
Yes.
now it's basically like, all right, what's the next one? Bring it
Yeah.
on. Like we
Yeah,
trust
right?
it. It's fine. And we talked a little bit about, how people pleasers were actually quite, we had these like very masculine way of doing things. So how do you define your own soft power at this point in your life?
My own soft power is just being unapologetically myself, just truly owning my authenticity. And I think authenticity is something that we're always stepping into. It's not like somebody's not authentic and then they're authentic. It's a rediscovery of yourself. It's peeling back social conditioning, layers of protection that you've put on yourself over the years just to survive, and really discovering who you are and living out that truth. That is your power, and your power is going to look different from the next guy's power and from the next girl's power. But I think when you really start tapping into that and being truly and unapologetically who you are, it's the most powerful thing. And that is truly how you step into your power. So that's what I am trying to do.
Well, it's beautiful. And I have one last question. If anyone out there is in the middle of their own detour, what would you want them to trust, even when nothing is clear at this point?
It's okay if it's not clear. I don't think it's supposed to be clear.
Yeah.
And I really do believe that when things are falling apart, I know this is gonna sound so cliche, but they're actually coming together. I think when you are in that period where everything seems like darkness, you don't know what your life is, you're just like, what is going on? You're actually in the God pocket. I think that when things fall apart, it just brings you to this beautiful foundation to build a new life, more authentic life, and just to step into who you truly are. And you can just change directions and go in a totally different path. So just know that if you're on a detour, if you feel lost, you're not. This is how we find ourselves, is by getting a little lost sometimes and losing our footing. And you will be surprised and amazed by how good life can get when you just really lean into it. Trust me, I've been there. I've been through so many different detours in my life, and I just feel like at this point I'm so grateful for them because they've all
Mm,
taught me so much and brought me to where I am today and so much closer to who I truly am. And
right.
it's hard. I don't want to like minimize that. I understand that,
Yeah.
but you're going to be more than okay if you just completely lean into it.
Right. It's like life is falling apart, but they're falling into places in a way,
Yeah, it
right?
really is
Yeah.
true.
Oh, it's so beautiful. Thank you so much, Jess, for spending time with me. I feel like I can talk to you for another few hours.
Same here.
Yeah. And thank you so much for all your wonderful insights. I really believe that life is a series of detour. We're just having fun and just be excited about it.
Just here for the ride, man. But no, thank you so much. This was such a wonderful conversation. I really appreciated it.
Oh, thank you.